Alright then people, we're moving around to the front to do these struts up here. These are a little bit more involved given the fact there's a spring here. But it's pretty much the same principle. What's going to be happening is you're going to remove the strut assembly as all one assembly, and then compress the spring down and take off the top nut to allow it to be removed. So, use a wrench to remove this bolt here holding the brake line in place. Remove these upper and lower bolts right here. And then hidden up here are the 3 bolts to remove the upper strut mount. So I had to remove an access panel here and an access panel here. That gives you a straight shot down to remove those 3 bolts. So do that, and this entire strut assembly will just come out of the car, and then we'll have to compress that spring to get it off the strut. I'll show you that process in a moment. Quick tip guys, when we're removing these 3 bolts here, I'm going to use this little reach magnet just to kind of put in place to try to prevent any of these 3 nuts from falling down into the pit of despair back there. I don't know where all that goes. It may just fall down into the engine compartment, but I'm not trying to find out the hard way. So I'm going to make sure that I have a magnet ready so that those don't fall and get lost. Okay, a couple more quick tips. You're going to need to remove this clip for the ABS sensor. And I went ahead and marked this bolt, noted the position. I took a picture of the position of this and then took a Sharpie and marked the bolt position in relation to this little tab. That way I can reinstall this as close to where it's supposed to be as possible. Now you're going to have to get an alignment after doing this job. However, the alignment guy will appreciate you for getting it as close as possible before you bring it in for an alignment. Alright everybody, so the next step in this procedure is very, 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 very important. You must compress this spring before attempting to remove it, because if not, once you undo the nut on top, all of that spring tension is going to explode outwards, and it could really hurt you quite badly, possibly even kill you. So, put the spring compressors on either side of the spring, tighten them down until you've got some play in the spring. That way there's no more tension on it. There's going to be a cap here. Remove this upper cap. And then, oh yeah, this looks like it's going to be fun. It looks like what I'm going to have to do is take a deep wall socket, probably put a pair of vice grips on the socket to hold it in position, and then use an Allen wrench to place down inside of there to keep this from the shock tube from turning. Alternatively, what you could try to do is put the vice grips on this tube here to hold it in place, and then just loosen the nut here. I'm not sure which one I'm going to do since these shocks are ruined, or these struts I should say, are ruined. It doesn't really matter if you mar up this surface here. It's not a big deal. But when you install the new struts, you definitely do not want to damage that surface here where it slides in and out of the strut, because obviously if it's marred up at all, it's going to slide down in there, bust your seal, and then you've got a blown strut again. That is not going to be any fun. Also, you want to check this piece right here. This piece rotates. This is called a McPherson strut. So when the strut is in the car and you turn the wheel, this upper piece here rotates and everything. So if that has any sort of play in it or anything, you want to replace that as well while you've got this strut out. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this thing and get the new one ready for assembly. So this is the setup I decided to go ahead and go with. It's a pair of vice grips with a 17mm socket and a 6mm Allen wrench stuck down in there to loosen this nut here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so you've got your old strut out, the spring off, you've got your new strut in position, ready to put the spring back on. Here are a couple of things to note when reinstalling the spring. The part with the rubber on it goes on the bottom, the part without the rubber goes on top. On the top, you want to thread the spring through that little pocket right there and make sure that it seats down in that seat right there. So the tip of the spring here should be sitting flush against that spot right there. Also to note on the bottom, this little rubber tab is supposed to go in the hole right there. So make sure you get those seated in position. If you don't get these seated just right and properly, the car will not sit level on the ground. So that is essential. Make sure you do that. Make sure you keep these in position. until you get your upper nut retightened back on. And do not forget to replace or reinstall your bump stop. It goes on just like this. What this does is if you bottom out your strut, it keeps the suspension from completely bottoming out. So that's pretty much it. After you get everything back on, get it back in the car, get your cam bolt reinstalled to the proper angle, or as close to it as you can get it, and take it in for an alignment. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you check out my channel. I've got a lot of other how-to videos on how to fix this car, my S10 and my Corvette as well, and a lot of stuff around the house as well. So again, thank you for watching, and yeah, have a nice day, guys. Thank you. Okay, guys, so one more very important tip that I just found out the hard way, and I'd like to not see you have to go through the same thing, and that is when handling this little cap that goes on top, that little swivel piece. There are a buttload of little tiny ball bearings inside of that, and there's nothing holding it together. So if you lift it up from the top, if you just grab this triangular piece and lift, it's going to separate, and ball bearings are going to go flying all over the place. And then you're going to have to go searching your garage floor for tiny little ball bearings. So if you're not replacing that, or even if you are replacing it, be very careful when you remove it. Do not lift it up from the top, and make sure that you're supporting it from the bottom, right here. And yeah, so just be very careful with that. All right.